Oh my gosh, I feel bad. I have some posts on the cycling and your. Okay, to understand this, you have to understand how the pelvic. So if you, I don't think it's motivation. I do, and I am I love this question. Okay, let me give you the update. I have a few of these, so this is going to cover that. Yes, I'm coming out with a program. I don't have a definitive date. Purposely done because it'll get done when it's good. But we're thinking March-ish. I put the ish on there just because, like, we'll see. Because that's how life goes, right? Like, I try not to get bent out of shape by, like, dates, like if it's a week after or whatever. But here is, like, where it's at in the process. We filmed all of the 12 weeks, which is, like, essentially, like, the very core of the program from, like, let's recreate your foundation and take you through to get to strength training to maintain those gains. That's like 12 weeks. We finished that in December, and those videos are being edited. And then the first week of February, we are filming the advanced fitness program. And then so the first week of February, we just need to finish filming the running program and the entirety of our advanced program. So we're going to knock that out that week. My videographer, Allie, goes to Arizona for the winter. So she's going to come back for a week so we can finish that. And then everything that we want done before we launch will be filmed, and it just needed to be edited. So we're getting the back end tech stuff all tested. We want to make sure it's very user friendly. We have all of it identified. We just want to make sure it works well. Anywho, when we do have some good edited videos back from each of the phases, so there's a very slow beginning phase, and then we just slowly ramp up and progress. We'll definitely release those on YouTube. So if you're on the wait list, we'll certainly send that message out to all of you who are interested, so you can, try them out, and hopefully you like them. But yeah. That's the update on it. I love this question because, yes, I primarily come on here to educate you about pelvic floor, but I like to talk about how you use pelvic floor with your fitness, and we need to stay strong and fit as we age, especially as females. We're going to lose that percentage of muscle mass every decade after 30. So it's just so important, especially for metabolic health, overall disease profile. So I do love talking on this because I live it. Obviously, I have 3 small children and a husband with a demanding job, and I'm trying to fit it all in. But I always defaulted to picking early in the morning and getting up and getting it done before the kids got up. Now I have a William who has major FOMO in life and gets up early. I will still do it if they're around. But this season of life, I've shifted that a little bit because I allow Matt to get his undivided time, or uninterrupted time, I should say, to work out in the morning because he does not have flexibility like I do. So if I don't get it done early, as soon as I get back from taking the kids to school, I work out, so I don't do other stuff. On that same note, overall, I've learned to be more flexible and kind of do what does fit into the family schedule while still trying to do it. I've definitely got good at letting the kids come in and be around. I've talked about that before. And I think the number one thing you have to do is stop waiting for the perfect window because it doesn't exist. It will never happen. And if you wait for that, then you won't work out. Just those little moments do add up of being able to do it and prioritize it. So I think those are my biggest learned things with the fitness piece, or like, how am I going to get it in while people are around? I did used to get very upset when someone would interrupt my workout, and that was just not realistic. It's just not life with kids. So I take interruptions, I stop, I pay attention to them, I'll do something, whatever. Occasionally I use the TV, I try not to. And yeah. For nutrition, I'm all about not making decisions on it in terms of I've just found what my rotation of breakfasts I enjoy are, I have the same snacks in the rotation. I haven't really changed that. There's not that many options. And I don't try to reinvent the wheel. So I'm super basic, simple, something that's fast, because if it's not going to happen. I only work during the hours they're at school, so I'm not going to come upstairs and spend 25 minutes preparing a lunch. I grab leftovers, or this week, I make easy decisions. I'm going to have it every day for the most part. So I bought a bunch of boar's head turkey, which I like. I throw it on a wrap with some other stuff. And I go down and I sit at my computer and I eat it. And our dinners are pretty standard. They're proteins. There's a starch and, a vegetable or a salad. So for me, that's what works. I prioritize my protein and then I keep the same rotations of foods because I don't feel like there's that much to reinvent every single time. Okay, I have a couple of thoughts on this. So number one, no one's saying that should be the only thing they're ever doing. If we're talking about your pelvic floor and issues with constipation, or you have prolapse and we need to manage pressure with bowel movements, like we really need to nail that. And it needs to be a combination of everything: water, 25 to 30 grams of fiber, elevate your feet, proper breathing, relax your pelvic floor tension. If you're doing all of those and you're still having trouble with pooping, then the people need to poop, and it's either a stool softener or it's a magnesium citrate. And I will always defer to magnesium because of the other benefits that magnesium offers, and most people are deficient in it anyways. So that's kind of where I weigh in on it. I'm also a big believer in educating people and having them look stuff up and make their own educated decisions too. There's a lot of physicians who are very anti-supplements and think you don't need anything. And I don't think that's true at all. I think there's a lot of information out there, and I think they poo-poo a lot of things they don't know. I do not, as of now. They felt really confident that the pathology was really good. We had definitely had some plans that if it came back as even anything on the residual of the cone, or if it was at the endocervical margin, that we would proceed because it's very difficult to monitor after a cone is done. There's lots of scarring and they can't monitor well if there would be cell changes. So, thankfully, all of that came back good, and they felt very confident that monitoring will be okay. Should it come back, then we would have to. We told her to take as much as she could of the cervical cone, so I essentially have no cervix left, and so they wouldn't be able to do a second one, and thus the next thing would be a hysterectomy. So hopefully it doesn't come to that. This is really common. I have a really good video of an old patient, I have to find it, where I had her blowing up a balloon, and we were videoing her, and she would video herself so she could visually see what was happening, which was helpful for her to then make a change. She couldn't feel it, but she could see it, and then she focused extra hard on that pattern and was able to correct it. So fingers between the hip points. Feel for that muscle happening. Think about a string lifting from the center, or lifting your pubic bone up, zipping up from your center, internal elevator, all of those things. Try to get a nice full inhale and keep your hands at your ribs, and don't let your ribs recoil in first. Try to just get the pelvic floor lift first. Those are some of my top tips to continue working on that. Hi, well, welcome. Always glad to have new faces. First, get on the email list. I'll drop the link. I just finished my email for Friday, which is titled something along the lines of you're confused about where to start because there's so many things. Start with these 3 things. Okay, so you need to reduce tension first. I kind of have this system in my head that I follow of number 1, reduce all the tension you're holding on to. So I'm going to share the next slide, or next 2, depending on how many this takes to answer, an old video on techniques to work on reducing upper abdominance or upper ab gripping if you're prone to that. So you have to reduce that. You have to reduce overall pelvic floor tension, which you would do through breathing and pelvic floor opening stretches as well. Once you do that, you learn how to, and hopefully kind of tied in with that, you learn how to inhale and relax your pelvic floor, and how to feel and identify your correctly. So along with number 2 of connecting your inhale is making sure your rib cage is expanding and compressing in 360 degrees. That might require purposeful breathing techniques toward the rib cage to improve mobility. Once you connect your inhale to your pelvic floor length, then we want to contract. So we need that muscle to reduce its tension so that if we need to strengthen it, we can strengthen it through its full range of motion. So then after we relax on an inhale, we need to learn how to contract from the bottom up with our exhale, the zipping up. So that was yesterday's post that I just shared. Then that is your core foundation. The inhale to release and relax, the exhale to lift and contract with the pelvic floor and core. Then you add that into all of your exercises for total body strengthening, glutes, hips, upper body, core, all of that. That foundation happens in those. Oh my gosh, there's so many good questions. And I always want to answer so many of them, but I cannot ever get to every single one. And I feel like my stories just drag on then, and it's enough already. Okay, obturator internus lies there, so it's a deep hip rotator. You can really only access it internally. I mean, you could sort of touch it externally, but it's hard. When those muscles are overactive or tight, maybe they're working too hard because you have weak glutes. That's really a common scenario. They're going to clench and they create external rotation. So think about butt clenching. So if you're butt clenching, then you're clenching everything in the posterior pelvic floor, which is tension of all those muscles in the back, those that surround the tailbone, hence tailbone pain.